Hello my beautiful darlings, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Andres, and if you're hooked on books and stitches, you have come to the right place. Today's video, we're going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. So basically, if you are not sure what that is, or you haven't seen the 20,000 other YouTubers have done it already, it's basically just about 10 to 12 questions about how your reading journey has been so far in the 2025. So let's get right into it. So I do have 12 questions here that we're going to go ahead and run through together. I got a lot of them from other YouTubers here, but I also tried to choose the ones that apply the most to me and my reading journey so far in 2025. So let's do it. First question is, what is the best book you've read in 2025 so far? And my best book, it was kind of difficult to choose because I did have a couple 5 stars, but I went with this one because this was the most unique one to me that I've read so far. I did read it at the beginning of the year, but we are 6 months in and there's no other book that I've read that's really topped like the style and the actual premise. And that book is Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. This was such a good book. The magical realism aspect was something that I've never really read or gotten into before. So I really enjoyed that aspect. And then the whole message behind the actual book of trying to find who you are in the midst of the craziness that life is really impactful, and I really thoroughly enjoyed this book from start to finish. I think my only little critique about it was that it was like super fast paced and there was points in the book that I kind of wanted more detail out of, but honestly, now that I'm thinking about it again, like, forget that criticism, like completely dump it out the window, because this was perfect from start to finish. I also got a new mic, if you didn't notice, so let me know in the comments if the audio sounds better to you guys compared to my other videos, just because, this one was a little more pricey because I want to invest into my YouTube career, so let me know in the comments if this sounds good. Okay, next question. What is the best sequel you've read in 2025 so far? So with this one, I chose this one because it was set in New York, and I love books that are set in New York. I don't know what it is. Like, I love New York so much. Will I live there? No, like never in a million years. But I love New York City. I love the lifestyle, but I can't live in it, if you catch my drift. But that was one reason why I chose this book. And the second reason is also because it's LGBTQIA plus inclusive, and there's LGBT characters in the book, and I love that. So that book is The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is book number 2 in the Deathcast series, but it's technically the prequel to the first one. And then another one just came out called The Survivor Wants to Die at the End, I believe it's called. I have it here. Yep, right here. The Survivor Wants to Die at the End. So this is book 3, which is technically actually following the first book. So it's supposed to be the first book is the original, then the sequel that came out with it is actually the prequel, and then this is the sequel to the first one.
I don't know if I made sense with all of that. Do you get it? Do you catch my drift? You know where I'm going? Just look it up. You'll know. I promise.
All right, so for the next 10 questions, I don't have the actual physical book. I'm either lending them to my sister-in-law or to a friend, or I read them on my Kindle, or something has happened to them that I don't know where they are. So we're just going to keep this moving with pictures on the screen with the books. All right, question number 3 is, what book did you have the most fun reading so far? And this one, it was a little tough to think, but the most recent one that I thought that I had the most fun was actually Book Lovers by Emily Henry. It was actually my first Emily Henry book that I read ever, and I could wholeheartedly say that I completely understand the hype. Like, I get it. I love it. Her writing style is really nice. The actual romance plot was really solid. So I get it. I get you, book girlies obsessed with Emily Henry. I totally get it now. And I'm really excited to keep reading her backlist, specifically like her adult romance books, because I know that she also has YA books, if I'm not wrong. But I don't want to dabble into that just yet. I want to read through her adult romances first. And then if I really have liked every single one that's come out, then I'll go into the YA portion that she has too. I don't want to talk too much about it just because I'm definitely going to talk about it in my June reading wrap up, because I've read it in June. So definitely stay tuned for that video. But yeah, most fun reading was definitely Book Lovers. No joke. The next question is what was the first 5-star read of 2025? Now, this one technically does count as 2025 because I finished it in 2025, but I started it in like December 29th, 2024. So I'm still gonna go with that one. And that one is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This was actually my first Rebecca Yarros. I've never read any of her romance books before. I went straight to her fantasy book, and I really like I got hooked from the beginning. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the writing style, if I'm remembering right, or just the concept of dragons, because I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. So just the concept of the dragons really got me. And it was such a solid book from start to finish. I was like so impressed. I was gooped and gagged, to say the least. But then when I got to Iron Flame, oh honey, that was a completely different story. And I was like, is this like the same series, the same author? Like, what is going on? Like, I didn't rate Iron Flame very highly. I gave it 3.5, if I'm not wrong. And it was just so long. I feel like there was so much in there that could have maybe been cut off or could have been chopped down a little bit. Like, the pivotal points of the book were magnificent. Like, no notes, but there was a lot of things in there that I just felt like didn't add to the story, didn't add any substance, and how insufferable Violet and Zayden were the entire time. It was driving me nuts. Like I couldn't deal with it. Like you're two grown adults. You're not children. You guys should be talking out your issues instead of sweeping it under the rug and having arguments because you guys are not communicating properly. Like, please get out of my face. So that's why I'm a little conflicted with that 5-star. Not only because I started in 2024, but I know that when I continued the series, I wasn't so into it. But you know, it's not about the series; it's about the book itself. And the first book that I rated 5 stars. So we're gonna leave it for Fourth Wing. All right, question number 5 is what new release has come out that you haven't read and are dying to? This one was so easy, and I keep trying to get into this one, but I keep finding other books that I want to read, or I'm trying to go through my actual TBR so I could like feel. Because when I create my TBR for the month, I know that you're not supposed to like follow it to a T, but I'm like so neurotic that I'm like, okay, this is the set list of the books that I'm gonna read in the month of June. I'm gonna read every single one, and if I don't, I'm gonna have a straight up conniption, and that's not okay. Especially because I'm a mood reader. Like, how am I supposed to predict in the month of June that I was gonna want to read these exact 8 books according to my mood? So that's where I struggle the most when it comes to that. And that's why I've been putting off this specific book so long. It came out in April, I believe, and that book is Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. I read Phantasma, which is book 1 in that duology last year around October, and I was so gagged at how good that book was. I really was not expecting it to be good. I had very low hopes entering it, but just the aspect of the high stakes, the games, the like 9 circles of hell, and like then the romance. I don't want to say subplot because it was very focused on the romance too, but girl, like it was such a good book, and I can't wait. And I can already imagine that Enchantress is probably just as good. And I've seen plenty of like super great ratings and reviews here on YouTube. So I don't know why I haven't gotten to it. So I need to get to it for sure before the end of the year. Maybe soon. Maybe it's my next one. I doubt it. But we'll see. So the next question is, what is the most anticipated book of the second half of 2025? This one was so easy for me just because I had just read this series. Like I read the 3 out of the 4 books in this series that are currently out in 1 month, like back to back to back. And I was in love. I loved every single characters. It's a romance, small town, and it's by a very popular author by the name of Elsie Silver. So that book is Wild Card by Elsie Silver. I'm super excited because when I read Wild Love, like from the moment I started it, I just kept turning the pages. Like I couldn't put it down. It was so good. Ford and Rosie are my favorite book couple I've read so far. Nora and Charlie from Book Lovers are competing with Ford and Rosie for sure, but I'm not gonna lie, like they were my favorite ones. I loved the banter between them. I loved their relationship, and I loved that they were kind of like, I hate saying enemies to lovers, but they're not. Like you cannot convince me otherwise. They're not enemies to lovers. They're like childhood friends to lovers in my book. Like brother's best friend type deal, you know. I did not get the enemies to lovers trope in that book at all. But just that fact, and Rosie reminds me so much of me and how I am and how bratty I can be sometimes. So honestly, I really appreciated like feeling seen through another character. And then the whole rest of the series, like Wild Eyes, Skylar and Wes, obsessed with them, like obsessed with them. And then with Wild Side, with Reese and Tabitha, I struggled a little bit with that one. I'm not gonna lie. Like up until like the halfway point, I was like, this is not the same as the others, you know. But as soon as I started going past the 50% mark, I started falling in love with them. I was super hooked, and the rest was history. So that's why I'm so excited for the next one in the series, which I think is the last one that's coming out. I'm not if I'm not wrong, and I believe it's coming out September 9th, 2025. So it's definitely the second half of the year, and it is one of the most anticipated ones for me. So I really can't wait till it comes out. Okay, the next one is, what is the worst book you've read so far? And I'm not gonna lie, I have two. And I have my reasons. And one of them is not very popular. It was supposed to be a not supposed to. It was a book club book between the book club that I have with my mom, and it was her pick for the month of April, I think it was. And it's called If She's Found by Alicia Daikema or Daikema. I'm not sure how to say her last name. I'm so sorry. But honestly, that book was like, it was supposed to be like a thriller. There was nothing that really got me like biting my nails and like anticipating what's gonna happen next. And it's like it felt very disjointed and all over the place. Like there was no cohesion. It wasn't very clear. So I really struggled with that book. I'm not gonna lie, I almost DNF'd it, but just because it was a book club book, that's why I didn't. And then the second one that I think is the worst book that I've read so far. This one might be controversial because there's a lot of girlies that love this book, but then there's a lot of people that feel the same way as I feel. And that book is Credence by Penelope Douglas. Look, I am a dark romance fan. Do not get me wrong. But when you make it incestual between family, like I get it. They were not actual blood related family, but they were referencing to each other as uncle, cousins, yada yada yada. And I don't know. I cannot cross that line. I really struggled so hard reading this book. Like I had multiple points where I just wanted to DNF it, like I couldn't. But I just kept telling myself, you know, I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum at all. So I was just pushing through. And I really had to push through. Like I was about to say F it and DNF it on the 70% mark because I could not deal with it anymore. I was like, these people need to stop calling each other uncle and cousins because I'm gonna go ballistic. Okay. And then another thing about it was that at the beginning, there was a specific scene that could be very triggering for someone that has experiences in the past. So if you haven't read Credence, please check your trigger warnings. I'm begging you, please check your trigger warnings because there's very, very intense scenes that happen that could trigger you, and I don't want that for you. So just be mindful of that for sure. So yeah, between those two, I can't really pick one, so I'm gonna go with both of those being as the worst books of my 2025 so far. Okay, so my next question here is, what book has been your biggest disappointment this year so far? Okay, so I briefly touched upon when I talked about Fourth Wing how Iron Flame did not meet those expectations as what I was expecting for it to be after Fourth Wing, because Fourth Wing was solid, like I said. But Iron Flame was really like, ooh, this is a big downgrade. So I wanted to initially choose that one, but then I remembered there was another one that I read that this book drove me insane. And this was another book club book pick between my mom and I's book club. So that's really funny that that's two books now. But that one is Lev Clancy, Diary of a Good Dog by W. Bruce Cameron. Look, the only thing that saved this book was the fact that it was told in the dog's POV. That's it. Straight up, nothing else was good about that book. There was no plot. Like, straight up, just vibes. And then the characters, luckily, the two main ones, in a sense, JB and Alana, they were manageable to read and like understand and who about who they are and stuff like that from a dog's POV, of course. But the others, every single other character that was a human in the book, good riddance. Get rid of them. Like, oh my gosh, the most insufferable, horrible people you could ever imagine. Like with zero brain cells. And to think that there's actual people in the world that are like that, that I've met people that are like that too. It's insane. That was definitely one of my biggest disappointments because when I first saw the book and we chose it for book club, I was super excited because, it's told from the dog's POV. It's kind of, I thought it was going to be kind of like a diary entry, mixed media type of deal or whatever, but it did not end up being that way. And it was very disappointing, honestly. You win some, you lose some, right? Okay, my next one is what book has been the biggest surprise? And this one was kind of difficult because I feel like there wasn't any that really stuck out to me, like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But actually, when I was reviewing all of the red books I've read so far, there was one that did stick out to me, and I remember it. And that was We Shall Be Monsters by Elisa Weiss. Sorry if I said your last name wrong. This book is a standalone fantasy. I read this one, and I discovered it was a standalone fantasy. I was like, okay, now I see what a good standalone fantasy is supposed to be. So definitely this one is like my biggest surprise so far because standalone fantasy is not something easy to do, in my opinion. But Alyssa Weiss really did a great job with it. The world building was immaculate in that book, and her prose was so beautiful, in my opinion. I had no notes about that book. It was really good. Okay, the next question is, who is your favorite new author so far? It could be either new to me or a new debut author. And for this one, there wasn't a lot of new authors to me in a sense that really like stuck out or is my favorite. But when I was reviewing my list of read books so far, when I saw this one, I was like, okay, yeah, this one might be my new favorite one. But I've only read one book by her, so I feel weird saying my new favorite author because I haven't read any of her other books. I haven't even finished the second book in the duology that I read first from her, and that's Rachel Gillick. I read One Dark Window 2 months ago. No, yeah, in May. I read it in May, and I fell in love. Her gothic fantasy writing is like so good, like so good, and her world building was decent. She's not a romance author by all means. Shepherd King duology is not a romance, in my opinion. It's not. The romance is a completely second, third plot that might not even be, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, the romance was not there, in my opinion, between Raven and what's this girl's name? Elspeth. The romance between Elspeth and Raven, it was initially supposed to be like a dating for convenience or whatever the case is, and that's like one of my favorite tropes. But the romance was not there. Like, there was no chemistry between them. There was no like moments where you just felt the passion between them, like how other romantic books do. It was none of that. But the fantastical element side of One Dark Window was phenomenal. And then the way that One Dark Window ended literally left me clutching at my freaking pearls, running to the second book because I needed to know what was gonna happen next. Mind you, I haven't read the second book yet. It's still standing right here. Like it's still right here. I haven't read it. Brand new. Still haven't read it, but I'm dying to read it. Okay. And then my next question, two more, is what is a book that has made you cry? This one was so easy. And it's the entire Before the Coffee Gets Cold series by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I've read book one and book two, which is called Tales from the Cafe. And without fail, I cried in every single story. So the book is set like in four short stories, but the same recurring characters still come into play because it's based in the same cafe. But every single story always made me cry, no matter what. Toshikazu Kawaguchi is a phenomenal writer, and I cannot wait to continue this series. And I definitely, once I finish the series, because I think most of them are on Kindle Unlimited, I definitely want to buy the books to have them on my bookcase because they're definitely one of my favorite books, without a doubt. And the last question is, what are the books you need to read before the end of the year? Now, this list could go on and on and on, but I decided to choose the top 8 that I really want to read before the end of the year. The first one is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. For obvious reasons, I know that Iron Flame was disappointing, but I really want to keep going, especially with how Iron Flame ended. I have to know what happens. I really have to. So that's one that was like my first one that I thought of. I was like, I know that Iron Flame sucks, but I still want to keep going with the series. The next one is Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman. This book gets a lot of bad rap sometimes. I don't know what exactly it is that gives it bad rap, but the concept behind it, it sounds so creepy. I love those like creepy kid getting possessed type of horror movies. So I just know that this book might eat it up. But we'll see, because there's a lot of mixed reviews. So maybe it sucks, but I'm pretty sure it might be good, especially since that's like my type of style that I like in horror. The next one is The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern. That one, I don't fully remember what exactly it's about, but I know that it's like how, like, one night in like random cities, all of a sudden a circus shows up. I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on that. But just the concept of that sounds really, really cool to me. And I remember I saw someone that I'm forgetting who was reviewing this book, and the way that she was describing it and her review overall literally convinced me. I was like, sold. I have to read this book, like 1000%. The next one is Ecstasy by Ivy Pachada or Pachada, I think it is. I'm not sure how to say her last name, but this one sounds really interesting to me just because it's horror, but with like psychedelic drugs in a sense too. So it sounds really interesting. I think it's really gonna hit the nail on the coffin in terms of like different type of horror style that I've never really read. And also, the cover is absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. So that's another reason, you know. The other one that I have here is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. I had this one on my TBR for May, and I did start it. I really did. And I got to the 25% mark, but then I did a soft DNF. Okay, hear me out. I am not the video games type of person, specifically like RPG video game player. I like to do like the cozy little like Stardew Valley, Disney's Dreamlight Valley, or I also like to play Mario Party or Mario Kart. You know, that those are my type of games. But when you are going through a story and it's like your first POV and you're shooting the gun, like no, that's it's not me. I'm sorry. I don't like those type of games. I suck at them. I could play for them for hours and I still will not get the concept or how to aim or how to shoot. I won't. I just won't. And that's kind of what this book was. I liked the writing style. I liked how like witty and funny, and I love Princess Donut, the cat that's a side character in the book. But I don't think I was in the right headspace, and I don't think I was ready to read a type of book like that just yet in May. And I've been eyeing to go back into it, but I still don't feel ready. And I see perfect, excellent, amazing reviews about this book. People are gagged about this book. So I want to get to it, but I want to get to it when I actually feel ready and in the mood for it. And then I have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I just bought the whole deluxe set, and I just finished rereading, sorry, The Hunger Games #1, as you can tell, all the little tabs. And honestly, I was so happy that I reread that book now as an adult versus when I was like in my preteen, early teenage years. And honestly, I totally get it and I understand why we were so crazy about it back then and now how crazy we are again over it. So I definitely want to get to Sunrise on the Reaping because I know that it's Hamish's story. And you know, we all love our crazy drunk Uncle Hamish. So I definitely have to read that one before the end of the year. The next one is not one book, it's a series that's currently out right now. And it's the Kindred's Curse Saga by Penn Cole, which is Spark of the Everflame, Heat of the Everflame. And I'm blanking out on the third one. Yeah, I'm blanking out, so I'll put it here on the screen, whatever it is. But I definitely want to read this saga, this trilogy. I'm not sure if it's done yet. I really want to get to this one because I see this one really highly recommended here on YouTube. I see so many people always raging about it and how good it is. They're a little scary to me because I know that Spark is like a decent size, like around that 400 to 500 range. But then when we get to Heat, it's like a big chunky monster. And I get scared of such long books like that sometimes. But they're highly recommended and they have stellar reviews. So I'm super excited and I really want to get to those before the end of 2025 too. And then the last one that I have here is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This one sounds super cute. Well, not cute. I don't think it's cute. But the cover of the book is cute and the actual story, like the premise of the book, sounds really solid. But yeah, guys, so that is my mid-year freakout tag of my 2025 so far. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a like and subscribe to my channel, and make sure to hit the notification bell just so you're notified every single time that I post a new one. Make sure to follow me on my socials. I have Instagram and TikTok, and I also have Goodreads, Storygraph, and Fable, so make sure to check me out there so we can become besties online in social media. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I've read, or have read any of the books that I want to read before the end of the year. Let me know what you thought about them, if you think I should be running to them and read them right now, or if I could say, you might not want to read that one. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming and watching my video. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and let's get hooked.